Would you like to know how to earn $30,000 in 30 days? I know I certainly would, and that's why I'm super excited with our next guest, Nicky Billou. He's a #1 international best-selling author of Finish Line Thinking: How to Think and Win Like a Champion. He's also the founder of eCircle Academy and the host of the Thought Leader Revolution podcast. Nicky, thank you so much for joining today.
Mike, thanks for having me on the show. It's an honor to be here, brother.
Awesome. Well, let's dive right into it. I want to know, how in the world can someone earn $30,000 in just 30 days?
Fantastic question. So let me begin by telling you really what it's going to take to have the mindset of somebody who does that. So,
Mm,
best way for me to do that is to just introduce myself for a moment before we dive into all that. I'm actually originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. And when I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, could tell this was not going to be a place to raise a Christian family. So what he did was he made a plan. He got us out of Iran and we settled where I now live in Toronto, Canada. Now, at the time, I was 11. I didn't want to leave my home or my friends. But looking back, it was the single greatest thing my dad could have done for me and my family. He took us from a legacy of tyranny and he brought us to a legacy of freedom. So I become a
mm,
champion for freedom. And I think if you're an entrepreneur, freedom's got to be an important word to you, right? Because freedom is what gives you the opportunity to have free expression and free enterprise, without which you can't have a business, right? You can't have a business without the ideas that you can freely choose to try to implement. So that's number one. Number two, right? It's also important, I believe, that it's not just being about the money. My father used to tell me when I was growing up, son, it's not about the money. Business isn't about money, it's about people. And I used to go to him, I go, Dad, what are you talking about? Of course it's about money, right? People pay you and they get stuff, right? That's how it goes. And he's saying, son, no, 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 no. Imagine a Venn diagram, Mike, and what you'd see is people in one circle, problems in another, and profit in the third. And then where
mm.
all three of those intersect is purpose. So the purpose of business is to solve acute problems for amazing people at an awesome profit. That's what it's all about. And my dad was the kind of person who would say to me, son, that guy sitting in front of you, that's someone's brother, that's someone's son, that's someone's father. That woman sitting in front of you, that's someone's wife, that's someone's daughter, that's someone's sister. They're a hero to somebody. Maybe they've even been burned by someone just like you. Your job is to restore their faith in humanity, if that's the case. And your job is to love on them, pour into them. And I think if you want to make $30,000 in 30 days, you got to come from caring about people. I'm all about my competitive advantage, Mike, is I care about people. I am a stand for people. I stand shoulder to shoulder with people. You know what I mean? I am there with them. And you need to be there with them. Everybody needs someone to believe in them, someone to care about them, someone to love them, someone to pour into them. And when you have someone pour into you enough, your self-doubt vanishes, and that fire, that spark of self-belief creates a roaring fire of confidence and ability to win. So that's number one. You want to make 30K in 30 days? Find people you can care about, you can make a difference for. I think that's a great place to start. Secondly, you got to start thinking like a business person. So many people go into business and they're good at what they do. They're good coaches, they're good consultants, they're good at the thing that they do, but they're not good business people. It's a technical term, but they kind of stink at business, right? They don't know about selling and marketing and all that jazz. So one of the things that frightens so many people is selling. They don't want to be seen as pushy or salesy. They don't want to reek of commission breath. Mike, commission breath.
Oh my
You know what I'm
gosh, yeah.
They don't want that. But that's good. But what's bad about it is they don't go after business they should go after. So they don't get business they should get. And then some charlatan marketer comes in and scoops that business and goes, I got it. And they don't care, so they don't deliver. So the good person who would actually make a difference, they lose out on that business. The client loses out on a good person who cares about him, getting him an outcome. And then the charlatan marketer loses out because karma is going to come and bite them in the butt. So it's the sum total of goodness in the world goes down when that happens. Me, I go and I teach people one thing and one thing more than anything else. Once I show them that they should come from love and belief, is stop thinking about selling and start thinking about serving. If you reframe sales to service, Mike, you don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold, right? But don't you want to be served by a caring human being? Don't you love it when someone actually goes out of their way to do something good for you? Of course you do. You want to give them your money. You go, here you go. Yeah, I'll pay you full price. I'll even give you a tip because you're so great. You took care of me. Everybody wants that. And if you come from service, I've seen clients who were making $5,000 a month change their frame from being afraid of selling to loving serving. That alone took them to $30,000 a month, brother. So powerful when you come from love and service.
So step one is really to have the right mindset. And I've seen this a lot. We have oftentimes billionaires on our shows, and there's such a fundamental difference between someone who thinks at that higher level, understanding the purpose, the drive, the why behind what they're doing, and then aligning themselves to really push forward on that despite the obstacles. So I completely agree with that mindset first. And then secondly, you're saying to sell, but to sell in a way that is in service to the customer, which makes total sense. So what do I do though? I hit the road tomorrow. Where do I start? Let's say I know my purpose. I know my vision. I know what I'm trying to do. What do I actually do tomorrow?
That's such a great question. So first thing you got to do is think about, how do I not sound like everybody else? Because you got to be good at communicating your vision. The two things you need is learn how to pour into people, and two, get good at communicating your vision. So if, let's say you're a business coach, and let's say that you want to make $30,000 this month, and I come to you and I go, hey, Mike, what do you do? You go, I'm a business coach. I can help anybody with any business problem. No, because everybody and their brother will say that. Now, you could be like my client, Carl Kramer. Carl Kramer, God rest his soul, he's passed on now, came to me. He was an executive vice president making $300,000 a year in a manufacturing concern. He quit to become a business coach, and he only made $7,000 a month, $84,000 a year. He came to me saying, Nicky, I want to make the same amount of money I made as an executive vice president as a coach. Can you help me? I go, yeah, I can help you. Tell me what you do. He goes, oh, I can help anybody with anything in business. I'm like, oh, Carl, no.
No.
I said, no. He says, but I really can. I can do it. I have so much background and skills and this. And I'm like, Carl, it doesn't matter. You need to narrow your focus. So we helped him narrow his focus. And over time, we helped him focus on lawyers who owned their practice, no partners, under 2 million, and wanted to double their business minimum. So Carl was, I'm going to help you double your business, working less. Good message for a lawyer, right? They work really hard. They want to make more money, and they don't want to work as hard. So Carl, within 6 months of us helping him come up with this, and it took time, it didn't happen instantly, right? Went from making $7,000 a month to making $40,000 a month, working less at $40,000 than he did at $7,000. For a brief period, he went all the way up to $70,000 a month, but he didn't like how hard he was working, so he dropped back down to $40,000. $40,000 a month is $480,000. That's almost 60%, 66% more than he made as an executive vice president, but doing something he loved, something that sparked his soul and woke him up. So you want to make $30,000 this month? Don't go after anybody for everything. Focus on one group of people. Figure out one problem that they have, because if you can solve that acute problem for that one group of people, they're going to pay you for it. And then here's the most important thing, Mike. You cannot not undercharge. Too many people in business undervalue themselves. They undercharge.
Absolutely.
I had this client. He was a relationship coach. Now, dude, he worked with men whose wives had said, bye-bye, get out of here. Professionals. These are people for whom a divorce would be several $100,000 to several $1 million. You understand what I'm talking about, right? Divorce is horrible financially. It's even worse emotionally. But that's a lot of money. And Buddy was good at it. He was a rock star. But he charged $90 for a 2.5-hour session.
What? That's it? I mean, that communicates that you're cheap, that you're not as good as they think you are. And that actually puts you in a really bad spot. I've seen this before. People actually charge more and get more sales because their price is higher.
Amazing that you should say that, because I looked at his business and there was a lot he was doing wrong, but the first thing that he needed to do was to own his value. And I said, look, we need to look at what outcomes do you offer people? I go, I either stop the divorce from happening or I have it happen in a way where they don't lose everything they got. So you save them emotional and financial pain, or at least you save them a lot of financial pain. Yeah. And you charge $90. Yeah. No. You got to raise your fees. So I made him make his coaching sessions 50 minutes, 50. And I told him, you're going to charge $500 a session. And you're going to sell packages, not like they don't get one session with you. They got to they got to buy 20 sessions or whatever, right? And he's like, what? No, I can't. He started hyperventilating. I said, calm down, buddy. It's okay. He wouldn't take it all the way to 500, but he took it all the way to 300. And he was making $2,000 a month when I started working with him. Okay. So he was more or less broke, right? I took him from $2,000 a month, Mike, in under 8 weeks. I took him to over $20,000 a month. That's a
Wow.
tenfold increase. Now, you got to get, this guy had no business background. This guy had no sales background. This guy was just good at working with men to make them not be a complete screw up in their marriage. He was incredible at it. So if you ever have problems in your marriage, let me know. I'll hook you up with this guy. He'll probably save you from a lot of trouble, right? But that was the deal. That was the deal. And it worked really, really well. But I want to say this. If you undercharge your clients, you hurt your client. Why? Because if they pay too little, they won't care about whether or not they get an outcome. If they pay the right amount of money, you got leverage on them. They'll work hard, they'll do the work, and then they'll get the outcome. You're hurting your client. You're not just hurting your own self and your bank account. Don't hurt your client. Charge appropriately. Don't gouge, but don't undercharge.
I love it. I have seen that as well. I'm going to go back now. You mentioned one important step was finding something that brings value to people and narrowing that down in a particular niche. I think for the average listener, they get stumped right there, right? What am I going to do? What am I going to try? How am I going to actually find something of value? So what would you recommend? If I'm starting out from scratch, how do I find a niche or something I can do to provide value to the market?
Okay. So you may not like this answer, but it
Okay.
is the answer. That doesn't matter. Absolutely matters not one iota. It's the wrong frame to come from. What do I need to do? How do I need to do it? The right frame to come from is, who's hurting? Who's hurting? What's their pain? And am I someone with a skill set that can help solve that pain? Because if you can look at who's hurting, what's their pain, and am I someone with a skill set to solve that pain, that'll work. Now, I run a program where we have a 3-day freaking in-depth workshop to help you get clarity around that if you're not super clear, right? But I'll speak for myself. There are a few areas in which I have a desire to be of service. Like, I really like seeing people be fit and energized, and I really like seeing people make a lot of money. And I don't like seeing people be overweight and feel bad about it. And I don't like seeing good people struggle with money. You with me? So in my career, I've said, okay, there's people who are struggling with money. There's people who are struggling with earning and living and income. There's people who are struggling with their health and fitness. Now, I don't do the health and fitness part anymore, but for a long time I did. And I had a brand called the CEO Health Coach. I worked with top Canadian and international CEOs. I worked with billionaires. I worked with top people in their field, and I did really well because that was where I was focused. And then when I got into the world of, helping people with income, I'm good at asking people for money. I'm good at pushing people to make things happen. I'm old school. You know what I mean? I'm not modern, play a victim kind of a person. I'm a kind of a person who's like, let's go for it. Let's push hard. And I also understand that a lot of good people, they're just scared. They've been beaten up by life a little bit. They've lost some faith in themselves. All they need is somebody to have a bit of faith in them and then show them another way to do things. The most important part is me having a faith. Now, I got rock star sales strategies. I got rock star thought leadership strategies on how to push your messaging out there. I mean, the very best strategies in the freaking world. Okay. I've worked with people who've been, you know, who've mentored me, who were like the top of the top in the world. Mark Von Muser, who was Tony Robbins' director of coaching and training,
Oh,
taught me
wow.
everything about enrollment and sales. You know what I mean? I worked with the great Matt Church and his team on learning about thought leadership. And I'm someone who's read 4,000 books. I'm 56 years old. This is my actual background. If you can see it, this is not a virtual background. I have 4,000, 5,000 books in my home, and I've read that many. I'm a rock star at how to, but
I love it.
that's not my superpower, bro. If you stand with me, let's say you and I had a private conversation. You said, Nicky, man, I make $500,000 a year. I've wanted to make $1 million a year for the last 10 years, and I've never done it. I've never done it. There's like some sort of like, I don't believe it. I don't know what's going on. And I don't know the strategy. Maybe there's a strategy I'm not missing. And I'll tell you, I'll show you the strategies that maybe you're not doing right now that could rock your world. But what I'd really do for you, Mike, is I'd stand with you, man. And I would like be with you and I'd help you believe in you to the point where
Mm,
whatever doubts you have about your ability to make $1 million are going to disappear in the roaring fire of the belief that we've sparked in you, bro. And I cannot overemphasize this. Everyone
yeah.
says, Nicky, show me the techniques, the stuff, the strategy. And I'm like, if we don't get this right, that stuff doesn't matter. The best technique with a crap self-concept is going to still get you a crap result.
Mm.
But the worst technique, the shittiest technique, taught by even the charlatans, with this mindset of love and belief and caring, will take you to $1 million. And so few people understand this or want to understand this. They're looking for the magic pill. There ain't no magic pill, bro. Now, there are
Yep.
great pills out there, and it's better to take the great pill than the crappy pill. I am not going to deny that. But you've got to have that person behind you who believes in you, spark that love for you, and you've got to feel that love fill you up, man. You must remember someone who did that for you, Mike. You must remember somebody who was there for you when you were in a low point in your life, who just said, you're great, Mike. You can do it. I'm going to, and they said it enough until you believed it. We all have had that moment,
Mm.
that individual in our lives. That individual
Yeah.
means more than any technique ever could. Mic
Oh,
drop.
absolutely. That gives you the fuel, the energy, the fire to move forward, even in times of great peril. I mean, I've had
Yes,
many
sir.
times where life has just kicked me down. And unless I had the people
Me
around me to
too.
help support and drive me forward, it doesn't matter because I didn't have the energy to execute the techniques to begin with. So I agree with that full
Yeah.
heartedly. You have to have that support to be able to execute well. And
Yes.
then I'm going to get into techniques though too, because I'm curious about that, right?
Sure.
So we talked about finding the pain point and other people are experiencing. And one thing that might work well for people that I've done before is just to peruse Reddit. Like look at things that you're interested in, that you have got skills in, and read
Yeah.
the comments, the concerns, the things that people are bringing up. And that might bring you some spark of ideas of ways that you can provide value. And then
That's a
you can
good
provide
idea.
value in a variety of ways, but one of the things I think people run into next is I found the place people are hurting. I know how to solve their problem. Here's how I'm going to do it for them. But how do I reach them? What's your thoughts on the sales and marketing side?
Well, there's 11 different uh, strategies for reaching people. So
Mm,
I am agnostic as to which ones you end up using, but I'll tell you what the five best are, in my opinion. This is just my opinion, not everybody's opinion. Number one is your warm market. People
mhm.
don't realize that there is a minimum of $250,000 available in their warm market. If you want to make 30 grand this month and you have no money, the best way is go to your warm market. Call people you know and who know you. Hey, Mike, it's Nicky. How's it going, bro? You're going to go great, Nicky. What's going on? Listen, I have something I want to talk to you about. This is a business call. I want to catch up with you, but I want to have a business call with you. Cool? Great. So, Mike, listen, the end of the year is coming up, right, bro? Yeah, end of the year is coming up. So, listen, Mike, quick question for you. Did you hit your targets? Are you on track or are you off track? Is this going to be like the year you imagined it was going to be or not? 80% of the people are going to say no if they're being honest with you. Okay. Well, we did
Yeah.
good, but not quite what we wanted to do. Okay, listen, Mike, could you use an extra $90,000 over and above what you got coming in the next 90 days? Would that be helpful to you? Well, sure, Nicky, of course it would. Listen, I've got maybe a way that can help you do that. Would you be open to setting up a call to explore how? Okay, sure. Next, you're in my calendar. And then I set up the call and I do what I do. I ask the questions, I get deep, and then I show you how I do it. Boom. That's one guy I know. I know you, you know me. That's an easy call to make. Problem with a lot of people is I don't want to come across as pushy, salesy. You're not. You're coming across as serving a person you know and you care about. Warm market. You want to make 30 grand this month, go to your warm market. Second, referrals. Referrals. Active referrals. Ask people that have done business with you for referrals. Oh my God, so many people neglect that. Ask for referrals and reward the referral giver. Hey, Mike, who do you know who could use an extra 90K this month? And by the way, if you send someone my way and they sign up with me, Mike, listen, I'll give you some cash. How'd that sound? I'll give you some cash. Or, Mike, if you don't want cash, I tell you what, I'll give you 2 weeks free coaching or whatever. Yeah, that's great. Referrals. 2. 3, podcasts. I love podcasts. I go on people's shows to be a podcast guest. I've generated $343,000, $812.18. I just kind of made those last dollars and cents up, but over $343,000 in 18 months from being a podcast guest. I've cracked the code on how to make money as a podcast guest. So you can do it through podcast guesting. You can do it through podcasting. Your own show can generate business for you. It's powerful and important. Number 4, really amazing and really great. And 5, strategic partnerships. I love strategic partnerships. I've made strategic partnerships with people. They bring me on their stages. We do business. They make money. I make money. Isn't that amazing? Who loves that, right? Those are 5 of the 11 that are absolutely rock star that anybody can do right away, this week, today.
I love it. I remember one of my mentors telling me, he said, I often recommend people to start a podcast or at least be a guest on other people's podcasts. And the vast majority of people just never do it. But that separates those who do incredibly well versus those who just flounder, right? So take that to heart. It's so easy just to grab a microphone, grab your computer and start doing podcasts. And to be on other people's podcasts, there are platforms out there. And one example is Podmatch, where you can sign up and actually get matched with podcast hosts today. You can literally be on podcast episodes in the next week. And so it's a great way to build an audience. It's a great way to find customers for your service. But as you mentioned, if you're looking to raise or earn $30,000 in the next month, the fastest way I think to do it is your warm network, just like you mentioned. Contact the people that you know that are having this problem and help them bridge and solve that. I love it. To kind of wrap things up here, is there any last technique or tip that you would recommend for people to earn that $30,000 in 30 days?
Yes. It's called pick up the phone, make a phone call. Absolutely. You got to do it. But remember, always come from heart, always come from love, always come from caring about somebody. It's so important. I'll tell you one last story before we wrap up. Several years ago, a woman came to me who had been the country director for one of the world's largest and most famous personal development brands. She was incredible. She was a rock star, but she thought she needed somebody to help her take it to the next level. So she brought this man on board to help her run the company. For about a year, everything went great. But after a year, their visions of the future began to diverge. And there was a board of directors involved, and they kicked her out, just like Steve Jobs got kicked out of Apple in the early 80s. And Just like Steve, she was bereft for a while. She didn't know what to do, where to go. Someone introduced her to me and my lovely lady. I work with my better half. She's my partner in life and business. She is a rock star. 3-time Guinness World Record holder for running 12 hours on a treadmill, 12,000 hours of results coaching for Tony Robbins. She's the shit diggity, my girl is. And so we met this lady and we knew exactly what she needed. She needed 2 people to pour into her and love on her. So we poured into her. We loved on her. We really made her feel that someone had her back. And she did great. Within her first month, she did 10,000 in profits. Her second month, she did 12,000 in profits. Her third month, she did 18,000. But brother, in her fourth month, she crushed it. She did $62,200 in
Wow.
profit. That number will become germane in a moment. She lives in Ottawa. I live in Toronto. That's a 5-hour drive. And at the time, my son had a tournament in Ottawa. He was 12. He's now 17. He'll be 18 in a couple months. Soccer tournament. And so my son and I, we were going to Ottawa. So I called her up and I said, hey, my son and I, we're coming to Ottawa. How would you and your son, who's my son's age, like to come watch him? And maybe we could hang out and grab lunch all together afterwards. She goes, that sounds great. We did it. We won the tournament, which was fantastic. By the way, my son won the high school soccer championship in Toronto for his division of schools, which is great. Right now, very exciting for that to happen. But we went, and when we were done, we all went home. She went to her home with her son. I went back to Toronto with my son. And a few weeks later, we had one of our quarterly, what I call branded thought leader immersion workshops. This is a 3-day event where we go deep into basically how to take that beautiful expertise of yours and monetize it so you can add 100,000, $250,000, $500,000, $1 million, 10 million to your business. And we were at the enrollment opportunity. And the way I do the enrollment opportunity is I ask our people to share their wins. So either live or with some videos. And I wanted to see who wanted to share their wins. And she bounded on stage before I could even choose anybody. And I go, okay, come on up. And she's facing the people. I'm standing behind her. So I'm seeing her back and her shoulders are going like this. And I'm like, going, what's going on? And she's not saying a word. And then I hear sobs. I go, what? Is she crying? Like, what did I do? Why is she crying? Like any man would with a woman crying in front of him, right? And then my lady comes up with a box of tissues, gives it to her, and she goes, thank you. And then she turns around to me and she goes, Nicky, between her sobs, you didn't know this, but when you and your little son came to visit me and my little son, my little boy said, Mommy, 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 who are we going to go meet? You know, little boys get excited. They got a lot of energy. And she goes, oh, sweetie, we're going to go see Nicky Billou and his son. And then she said, all of a sudden, my sweet son got very quiet, which is unusual for him because he's a loud, rambunctious boy. And he said, oh, Mommy, are we going to get to meet the man who saved our family? Brother, I am an old school Iranian man. I do not cry in public. You know, I cried like a little girl. I just bawled and bawled. We both hugged, and she said to me, you didn't know this, but when I came to see you all those months ago, the bank was going to foreclose on our home because we hadn't paid our mortgage in months. My husband and I were fighting like cats and dogs in front of the children every day. The kids were freaked out because they thought we were going to split up. I thought we were going to split up. But working with you, I made the money. I paid off the bank loans. And my husband and I stopped fighting about money. And that saved our family. And brother, I want to just say this to you.
Yeah.
When I go and I sell, this is a very high ticket year-long program that we sell. Okay. It is, I'll tell you the price. It was 40,000 US dollars, right? This is not a small amount of money. So some people sign up, they're in the room, they've had an experience. Some people are like, no way. And some people are like, let's talk about it, right? That's normal. You need to understand something. On this day, after this little boy's story, I did not bring on anybody else. I thought it would be counterproductive. I handed out the registration forms. I had not even yet mentioned the price. Do you understand? Everybody signed up.
Wow.
Everybody signed up.
Wow.
You think
That's
about that. You think about
that,
that. That's
that-
crazy. But why did it happen? Is it because Nicky Billou is such a great genius? I don't think so. I can tell you, I don't think so at all. It's because that woman showed everyone in the room. Maybe Nicky Billou isn't a great genius, but Nicky Billou gives a good gosh darn about you as a human being. And
mm,
because he cares, you will win. I couldn't have said that. I couldn't have said that in a million years. I'd sound like an idiot if I said that. But she said it. And she said it not in so many words, but with the story that she told. And all I want to say to you and your listener as we wrap up this conversation is maybe you're her. Maybe you're in a position in your life where you're hurting and you need somebody to believe in you, love you, pour into you right now. Maybe that's not you. That's okay. Maybe it's someone you know. If it is you, then I urge you, get on my calendar. I would love to speak to you. And if it's not you, then go find people like that in your world and pour your heart into them and help lift them up, man. Because after all, that's why God put you here more than anything else, is to love people, to contribute to people, to give a good gosh darn about them. Mic drop
wow.
number 2.
I love it. Thank you, Nicky, for that. Nicky, how can people find you if they're interested to learn more?
Well, at Nicky Billou on any platform, any social media, Amazon, podcasts. I've been on over 400, actually over 500 shows right now, and I've done 600 of my own episodes of my own show. So that's easy to find. But if you want to have a conversation, get on my calendar, go to ecircleacademy.com/appointment. That's the best one.
Awesome. One thing that I've learned throughout time is that learning the lessons is valuable. So we talked about a number of valuable lessons here today, but the key is to put it into practice and have that energy and the oomph and the support, as we learned today, of the people around you to help make that practice a reality. But on top of that, a lot of times the devil is in the details. There's a lot of challenge there, and we can easily get off track. So finding a mentor, someone like Nicky that can help support you through those steps, through that process is incredibly valuable. And that can maybe change your life. So Nicky, thank you so much for joining me today.
Mike, thanks for having me on the show, man. It was an honor. God bless you, brother.
Thank you and have a great day.
You too.